Are we on? All right. Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 1 of Judge Nerdy. For everybody tuning in today, Judge Nerdy is a show where we take hypothetical questions and we get really serious answers from our contestants, who will each have 2 minutes on the first 2 questions to give their answers that they've prepared ahead of time. The third question is a secret that only I know. Let me introduce our contestants today. Contestant 1 is coming to you all the way from Kalamazoo, Michigan, Josh Mays of the Alamo studio. Funny the places you hear about. Our second guest today is coming to you all the way out from Kalamazoo, Michigan, Chad Campbell of the Alamo studio. What are the odds of that? It should be noted that before we get started, I'm receiving all of my dialogue via teleprompter and am filming this in front of a live studio audience of 2 people with headphones on who are writing all my dialogue. Caramel macchiato. Are you both ready?
Yes, I'm ready. And let me just say that on behalf of all the nerds here, which I think I'm comfortable speaking for literally all of them, thank you for this opportunity to crush my enemies, conquer the competition, and arise as king.
And let me just say on behalf of all the geeks, which I feel that I represent best, I have a girlfriend, so I already won in the end.
Speak for yourself. I have several.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, guys, I'm glad you're taking this web show that nobody watches seriously. It's amazing. Our first question today was sent to our guests ahead of time, so they've had a week to prepare or so. And their answers should be good enough to tell their grandchildren about.
All right.
You will both have 2 minutes to give your answers and explain why you chose them, after which you will both have a chance to defend your idea or admit defeat, and I will judge, because I'm a nerd. Question 1. Telltale Games, the creators of many great story-based adventure games, The Walking Dead, Tales from the Borderlands, and The Wolf Among Us, announced that they are working with Edgar Wright, the filmmaker, on a video game based on one of his films. Which one did they choose? What is it called? What is the general plot? And what are 2 potential endings it could have? The contestants can be as detailed as they want to be, and they're going to have 2 minutes each to answer. And the first one to go is going to be Chad.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry.
Which one used Chad?
I am Chad.
I believe you just wanted to hear the best answer first. That was all, but I will be patient.
I've always enjoyed Edgar Wright, but I will say right now that compared to my fellow combatant and to people like my friends, I got a friend named Tyler, he loves him. I'm definitely less of a fan than they are. He's made great films. He's made some pretty decent films, but only a couple are actual classics for me. That said, the one that got me on board way back in the day with him is also the first one I saw. It was his first major release and remains one of his most popular films, including both the highest and most rated amongst critics and audiences on both Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb to this date. You could argue not his best film, but certainly the easiest to adapt into a Telltale game, that is Shaun of the Dead. Telltale has already tackled the zombie market with their best-selling game to date, The Walking Dead, aka the game that didn't make them declare bankruptcy. While a game like Hot Fuzz, playing as a strict cop, could potentially be fun, nothing has an automatic sale and excitement like beating the shit out of zombies and making decisions on your friend's survival. This isn't a game that could only reach a niche audience or needs to be explained as to why it's so good. This is a straightforward mix of humor and horror that is instantly marketable and fun. The general plot is, wait for it, the same plot as Shaun of the Dead, except that you can change who lives and dies, what items you collect, what items you can upgrade, etc. In a more open world style, you can choose which buildings and pubs you want to break into and find potential survivors / lose your friends along the way based on your decisions. Choosing to attack a zombie, evade a zombie can all add up to the finale. You can even keep track of your sober meter, which can create new options or erase some based on the amount of alcohol inside of you. More risky, potentially deadly options appear the more you drink, but if executed correctly, you can unlock new weapons and faster ways out of situations. For the endings, there are many, many options. The traditional ending of Zombie Ed and Sean playing video games together 6 months later is, of course, the default ending for the most basic decisions. Another, based off earlier decisions in Close Encounters, discovers that you were bitten during the final brawl and slowly becoming a zombie, and then you are killed by the British Army when they arrive. All in all, a game that easily works with Telltale's basic choose-your-own-adventure format, an easy sale to an already popular film, and a good amount of fun that ties into the one franchise that Telltale had its best success with, making it a unique, safe, and smart relaunch.
All right. That was an answer that I listened to. And I hear typing over there. So they were writing things down. Next up is Josh. Go ahead, Josh. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. First off, kind of low-hanging fruit there with the pretty much Walking Dead ripoff, but you know, it's what I expect. So anyway, I came prepared. Now, we all know Edgar Wright as a filmmaker creates wonderful cinematic experiences, but what we might not know is that not all of his films go to theaters. Not all of his films are over an hour long. Some of his films are made to be set to music. So, allow me to present the best idea. Telltale's and Pharrell Williams's Gust of Wind, the game. Now, we're all familiar with this music video, I'm sure. We see Pharrell Williams trapped in the woods with a dance troupe. Dancers that work for him. They have been caught in this woods and trapped after a plane crash. None of this is explained or even hinted at in the video, but this is what Telltale would have to do to make the game interesting, and I think it would work. So, they've crashed their plane. They're wandering through the woods. This is a survival game. How will Pharrell, this Emmy Award-winning singer and performer, survive? Those choices are up to you. You'll have to decide who of your dance troupe to listen to, who to follow, who to lead, and who to leave behind. And for those of you who have seen this video, I'm sure you'll know the primary antagonists emerge very quickly. 2 floating rock heads shaped like helmets the size of garbage trucks. You know them. They float through the air and they crush the weak. So you have to avoid them and you have to see your dance troupe to safety. Now, we all know this would be a great game, and I think the endings are clear. You either escape with the orange dancers, the white colored dress dancers, or the red dress dancers. Now, you could also emerge with some small collection of different smatterings, or they may all die, or maybe you'll die. That's up to you. Telltale's and Pharrell Williams's Gust of Wind.
I'm being told that was a very unexpected answer.
I believe you mean creative genius. That's what you meant.
I'm going to send it back over to Chad, who has a minute to argue his point and try to tell us why Josh's answer sucked. Go ahead.
So Telltale Games is largely a point-and-click, choose-your-own-adventure company that went bankrupt based off having too much money put into things that weren't guaranteed. Shaun of the Dead is the most popular, the highest-rated, full-length movie that could easily be split into their traditional release format, which was like 5 separate parts and then a whole game with all parts combined. Very traditional of their elements, something familiar, something accessible, something fun, a way to potentially get you out of your bankruptcy. Taking a 4-minute music video from a song that nobody can just like stand up and sing right now and making it into a several hour event or multiple parts is going to be difficult and not necessarily any more fun or marketable than it already is. And so my response is just, I mean, it's a terrible selection. So I feel like that's all I can say really is, yeah, that's it.
That sounds about right. All right, now, Josh, your turn. You got 1 minute. Why does Shaun of the Dead suck as an idea?
So thank you for your concerns, Chad, but I believe the question was about what would be a good game and not what would sell. This would be a great game because this allows for the creativity of the team to truly come through. The storytelling potentials are extreme. Where's your sense of adventure? Shaun of the Dead, that plot has been wrung out dry in The Walking Dead. It would be a rehash of what they have already done. Gust of Wind, that allows for some new potential, something truly miraculous. And I think we can all agree that's a bit what we need right now. That would sell. That would sell. You might not think so, but I think we all know it deep down.
Shaun of the Dead is a classic movie. Zombies are up Telltale's alley. That being said, there is a lot of potential making a game out of a video that has absolutely no substance. You could do literally anything. But a giant question mark is not a trophy, unless you made one. That was a question mark. I don't know what that'd be for. I'm sorry, my teleprompter's frozen. Craig? Yeah, I know your name. I just don't want to use it sometimes. We'll talk about that. Talk about that later. All right, they're saying Chad wins, which to me, honestly, makes a ton of sense.
I understand there's a lack of imagination here, and that's a shame.
I think the lack of imagination comes down to just recapping a 3-minute music video and hoping that it could be a 5-hour game.
No, sir.
There are 2 questions left, so Josh does have a chance to still win. He just has to get both of them right. And he has to do better. And when he tells his grandkids about the answer he just gave, I don't know how he's going to explain it. I just sucked. And sometimes people suck. And that's the moral. Grandkids.
True.
The second question was also given to our guests 1 week ago, roughly. Are you both ready?
I'm ready.
Question 2. You are directing the next Batman reboot for DC with Hans Zimmer composing the score for your film. Sudden news, Hans is taken ill and cannot complete the project, but he will let you reuse the score from any other film he has worked on. What film do you choose to borrow from? Why? And describe a scene in your Batman movie with its freshly repurposed Hans Zimmer soundtrack. You both will have 2 minutes to answer this question. And again, Chad will go first. Take it away.
All right. Hans Zimmer is not my favorite composer. He can make absolutely fantastic scores that fit the movie, but are instantly forgotten upon leaving. He has, over the past decade, developed a unique sound that many have tried to replicate. The difficult thing with this decision is, how do I take something that Hans Zimmer made and made it work in my film without having others say, hey, this music is from this, and potentially ruining their experience or lowering their ratings, while also being able to say that's definitely a Batman appropriate Hans Zimmer score. This isn't just some other film. This is Batman. With the latest one being as long as Avengers Endgame, audiences have come to expect a uniquely not unique. Batman films to be greenlit need to be brooding, edgy, dark, and PG-13. They need to look unique while also looking like a Batman film. They need to sound unique while also having a Hans Zimmer score. The benefit of using Hans' music is that most of his film from the past decade all sounds similar, but to find a score where any element could fit into this Batman film while also having a unique identity that isn't, this is the music from Inception, that proves a difficult task. Thus, we will be using the score from the novel adaptation of Angels and Demons. While the film was successful, 13 years later, the film is not discussed. Very few are even aware Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack. All tracks can perfectly translate to a Batman film, and next to nobody would be aware of this recycling. I use the opening track 160 BPM as my example, though any track on the soundtrack could seem appropriate. It creates a familiar yet unique sound for Batman with a gothic choir taking over the traditionally brassy sound while still maintaining a majestic and dark vibe, along with the random dramatic drum explosions that we have grown accustomed to in these films. The track would open the film in the middle of, similar to The Dark Knight, men setting up a heist or a bank attack, while at 1 minute 13, the audience gets to see the main weapon that they are putting together. 10 seconds later, we actually see the Batman making a quick appearance, letting the audience know that he has been watching this the whole time and will be stopping it. A unique action scene set to a unique yet familiar sound to launch audiences right into it without relying on another origin story to set it up or hoping that audiences can forget other well-known scores.
I'm going to go off script here and say I actually know a lot about this. Dan Brown wrote one of the best books ever in Da Vinci Code. I read that book cover to cover 15 times in 2 years. I'm seriously geeking out here, but I don't have any authority. I don't make the decisions. They do over there. I didn't know this was a nerd thing. I'm going to stay on this show. Hey, Josh, you can go next.
Wonderful.
I don't think you're going to top that.
Well, I think we can all be glad that you don't make the decisions, because once again, that's a lack of imagination there from Chad. I think we know the superior choice here. So without further ado, I'll take it away.
Well, I got to say something here really quick. I may be coming back, but you might not.
Well, that'd be up to the viewers, wouldn't it?
Yeah, all 10 of you
Maybe
vote
not.
for Josh.
Losing control here, Craig. No, I don't know. I don't know your brother. Okay, 2 minutes.
Prepare to have your minds blown once again. So we all know the film Joker that came out, and we've all enjoyed it immensely, starring Joaquin Phoenix. A wonderful tale that dealt mainly with childhood trauma and recovering from it, although in his strange way. And I think my film would see a similar focus for Batman, as he also has quite a bit of childhood trauma. And I think the score you need to really punctuate that is one that people might not know Hans Zimmer was responsible for, but I think we'll understand it. So we know, first off, Batman is the boss. There's no doubt about it. He once, though, was a baby. And that is the most appropriate score for this next film outing for the Batman, The Dark Knight. Hans Zimmer's score to Boss Baby Family Business. Now, strange choice, you might think, but consider this. The deepest emotional struggle Batman has ever encountered is the loss of his parents. The upbeat and light-hearted soundtrack will be the soundtrack of his thoughts as he works through his past trauma, trying to reconcile his happy and idyllic childhood with his grim present. Picture this. Batman stands amidst a pile of beaten and battered criminals, holding the Joker by the throat, squeezing the life out of him slowly, questioning if today is the day he breaks his rule. If today is the day he kills. The song, Bedtime, begins to play. We see drips of water falling around him and flashes of a baby Bruce Wayne playing with toy cars in Wayne Manor. We see him start to cry while the singer hums gently. Just as the tired piano hits its final joyful notes, Bruce realizes we all have a bedtime, and the Joker is late for his.
God, hold up. Is that track even from the first Boss Baby? Or
No.
God damn. Okay. Which
It's
one
Boss
is that?
Baby Family Business.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right. So I think that that's a great idea. If this is a Cartoon Network version, if this was Teen Titans Go, absolutely, that's the soundtrack for it. But this is a DC Batman movie, and from all we've seen so far, there are no baby Batman versions that they have planned. And to be fair, that's not even just a Hans Zimmer score. That's Hans Zimmer and Steve Mazzaro, who we don't have permission to use his stuff. So I feel that by default, that score is not applicable to this contest at all. However, that being said, I think Boss Baby would make for an absolutely unique Batman score to a cartoon version of Batman aimed for the kids ages 5 through 10. As a actual DC Batman film, if we've seen anything that they're doing recently, and if they hired Hans Zimmer, what they want is predictability. And nothing gets more predictable yet more appropriate than the Angels and Demons Hans Zimmer score.
Well, that's making a lot of sense to me. Josh, what do you think?
I think that was crap. And I'm frankly a little offended. Clearly, Batman is adult Batman. He's been through a lot. And I think the point you missed here is the juxtaposition between the happy, idyllic soundtrack and the brutal violence depicted on screen. If you were paying attention to my answer, that would have come across. So I think while Angels and Demons would be a score that people would not remember, they don't remember it for a reason, because it's forgettable, and you don't want forgettable music. You want Boss Baby Family Business.
Wow, that was so good. Oh, crap. That whole sentence.
All right. Well, that's what it says on my teleprompter. It just says, Without that last sentence, Josh would have just been done. But now I'm just staring at an empty teleprompter and I hear two people laughing and talking to my left. So what did you guys do this weekend? Nothing?
I was up all night working on these answers.
Yeah, I discovered the Angels and Demons soundtrack, which I actually do think would be a perfect Batman score.
You would think that, yeah.
See,
If you listen to it, you would too.
Yeah, there's a problem there. It's too recognizable. If I heard the Angels and Demons score, I'd know. I'm giving them a listen to Bedtime here while they're deliberating, just to hear it, and I don't even care what they're gonna say. Chad wins. No, Craig, I don't care.
You can't do this to me.
What? I don't. Well, good. We agree. They were gonna give that answer anyway. But Josh, good job on making a compelling final sentence. So, with our two prepared questions out of the way, and Josh really just defeated, we're just going to do this last question for fun. And he can just have as much fun with it as he can at this point, knowing he's a loser. All right.
Well, this is unfortunate news, but you know, these pages have taught me anything. Now, I'll reveal to the audience that they are indeed blank except for one thing, which I think will help me out in this final question, even though my victory is gone. I think we could all stand to believe, and I think I'll continue to believe that I could win this somehow. That's what I'll have to do.
All right.
Well, that made a ton of sense. All right. The final question today is also the third one, and it's also a secret. Neither Chad nor Josh know what it is. So let's just sit with that feeling for a moment. Isn't it nice? Question 3. Solo 2 is announced. A director is hired to make the film, then is fired 2/3 of the way through production, unexpectedly. A second director is brought on to complete the film, and when it comes out, it's the best Star Wars film ever made. Who's the first director? Why are they fired? And who is the second director? And why is Solo 2 so great? Be as detailed as you can. You don't have to answer all those questions since this is a surprise. And you're going to have 5 minutes to prepare. And at that point, unless I have to give you extra time, we're going to hear what you both have to say. I'm especially excited to hear Josh's answer. All right, the contestants have prepared their answers. They took a long time and put a lot of thought into this. Let's hope I'm not just setting up something that's really anticlimactic there, Josh. So, you both will have 2 minutes, same as the other questions, to explain your answers that you came up with. And I'm going to start the clock here. And I'm going to have Josh go first this time. And starting now. Go, Josh.
Well, you've stumbled into my domain, so to speak. So this will be quite the answer, I think. Predictably, the first director hired for this film that later became fired this would be created during the production of the Boba Fett show and not quite finished before the release of it. So the opinion of Robert Rodriguez would start very high, then following the show's release, be very low. And I believe the Disney execs would be a little dissatisfied with his performance, so he would get the can, and they would bring in, appropriately, daughter of the director of the first Solo film, Bryce Dallas Howard, who has shown very good aptitude in directing Star Wars, to direct this film. And that is partly what makes this such a great movie that everyone enjoys. It is a cinematic masterpiece with long takes, well choreographed action, and beautiful set design. The plot would follow Han and Chewie as they flee from the Crimson Dawn. This situation set up in the first movie. They are being sought after by several bounty hunters, and there's a high price on their head. And we would see similar faces such as Bosk, Boba Fett, Greedo, and even Cad Bane, which Star Wars fans would be familiar with. The film explores the dark recesses of Star Wars and the underworld that employs Han and Chewie as smugglers. We meet Jabba as an information broker that supplies Han with critical information in exchange for a favor, and this would be known to somewhat backfire for Han in the future. The film would ultimately culminate in the death of Cad Bane at the hands of Chewbacca as Han distracts him with a challenge to a duel, and that would probably go down as one of the best scenes in Star Wars history. Thank you.
All right. That was well thought out, well delivered. Who are you? All right, Chad goes next.
I'm the winner of this question.
Oh! Solo 2. Ron Howard is the original director, now being taken over by a man we talked about earlier, Edgar Wright. Edgar fires the cinematographer from Solo for ruining the feeling and humor with his natural lighting and muted tones, and brings in Bill Pope, his cinematographer, for Baby Driver. The script is altered to enhance the humor and buddy comedy elements of Chewie and Han, while also providing and focusing on good fan service and action like we know that Edgar Wright can bring. Ron is great at starting something and bringing in a fairly decent, entertaining family movie. Nice place to start, but he gets pulled 2/3 of the way out for just being too damn generic. And in response to the okayness of Book of Boba Fett, Lucasfilm does its typical activity of freaking out and canceling everything in a surefire way to guarantee a lack of profit. Thankfully, they bring in the right person, and he channels his Ant-Man ideas into this film, creating one of the greatest buddy comedies we've seen since The Nice Guys. A good Solo 2 would just be a good version of Baby Driver or Shaun of the Dead, or really any of the movies that he's done. Edgar is able to show respect to the franchise while also making it seem unique and fresh, and sticks to the established canon of Darth Maul and Jabba, while also adding elements like Kira's ventures into the crime syndicate world, which includes cameos by Boba Fett, Cad Bane, Chris Santa, and other characters that fans are waiting to see, including a cameo from the Bad Batch's vehicle landing on a port in the background, similar to the Millennium Falcon in Episode 3, all while keeping it respectful and with the original story and setting up Solo 3 as was originally intended.
I got to disagree with something before I read what was written on here. Ron Howard's a fantastic director, you monster. I don't know how to feel about you anymore. If I was voting right now, just off of my gut reaction.
You a big fan of Solo?
He was.
I've never seen Solo, but I love the Da Vinci Code.
He did.
Moving to rebuttal. Josh, again, you go first. Tell me why Chad's answer sucked. Besides the Ron Howard things, we already know that.
No problem. So I think we can all agree that we've had a lot of the lighthearted Star Wars. We want to see the darkness that can be within. We've all grown up with Star Wars. Star Wars, it hasn't grown up with us. So we need to see something that captures the darkness that we've just wanted to see and that we experience in real life, and we can tell isn't quite genuine from Star Wars. We want the darker themes. And I think, it just shows that Chad doesn't quite understand the franchise, particularly with his mispronunciation of Chrysanthemum, the black Wookiee scarred that has appeared in comic books. A true fan would recognize that. And I think that, the Edgar Wright would do a fantastic job, but I think we need something a little more serious, something masterful, and something that really captures that dark spirit of the mysterious smuggler that was in that bar in Tatooine. So that's my rebuttal.
Intriguing, I think. Chad's turn.
Hey, I'll agree. We could use a dark movie. Guess what wouldn't be it? Solo 2. Have you seen Solo 1? It's not a dark movie. Have you met Han Solo, one of the literally lightest characters in the entire franchise? He is the jokester. By Return of the Jedi, he is literally nothing but a guy who sits there in a parka and cracks wise things from time to time. We can't show this super dark element of him. It won't sell. Star Wars, whether you like it or not, is for families. It always has been. The reason Episode 1 even exists is because 10-year-olds enjoy it. All right? I don't think that you could change it into something dark. And I'm not sure Bryce Dallas Howard is even the person that could handle something super dark. But I think a good mixture of adding something dark while keeping the light feel falls right into Edgar Wright. That is literally what Baby Driver is. It's a very serious plot, very serious action elements, but it's light the whole time. It's very approachable, yet it manages to be dark at the same time. I think your answer honestly just reinforced why Edgar Wright would be the perfect bridge to connect all these things together.
They say Robert Rodriguez starting the film, making 2/3 of it, and then having it reshot by Bryce Dallas Howard. They say that it would be a good movie and very original, would bring some odd or good ideas as well to the Star Wars universe and to the Solo franchise, but would ultimately be a wild card. You don't know how that's going to turn out. Bryce Dallas Howard is going to do a good job, and she might temper the ideas that Robert Rodriguez brought in, but it's hard to say if that would be spectacular or not. But if it is, then who are we to argue? But that's a big question mark. Chad gave an answer. His answer was Ron Howard made 2/3 of the film, was let go for being boring, and then Edgar Wright took over. And they say that Ron Howard would write a good story and or make sure he's shooting with a good story that followed up the previous one. He had experience with it and would know exactly where to go with that in the writing. So the groundwork would be laid out there, but they said it'd be a little weird for Edgar Wright to come in because he writes his own things generally or works with the screenwriter and would want to know all the pieces of it. So it would be a very strange on the fly scenario. And they don't even know if he'd get hired because he mocked Star Wars for so long in his TV show Spaced in the early 2000s. He mocked the prequels, not the originals, the prequels. So he's obviously probably a fan of Han Solo. Whether he'd touch a prequel story like Solo 2, don't know. But the Ron Howard Edgar Wright one sounds really intriguing. And I think people would just go see that right away if it somehow happened. If the Robert Rodriguez, Bryce Dallas Howard one happened, the people would go see it that wanted to go see it. All in all, both these questions are really hard and have a lot of what ifs to differentiate between them. So, out of pity, and because it was improvised and that impressive, Josh gets 0.5 and Chad gets nothing. Chad, you won already. Josh just gets 0.5.
All right, we'll take it.
I want to thank you and Craig and the crew for this victory. It was hard fought, but Chad, I'm sorry. You put up a good fight, but I think we all know I deserve this one. So,
well, I tried my best.
See, I'm confused here. Which one of you is Chad again?
I'm Chad.
Yeah, you won. What are you talking about?
Well, I tried my best. That's why I won. I don't understand what's confusing. Yeah.
I was asking Josh.
I'll accept my prize money in Bitcoin, please.
Hi, guys. I'm Chad. I love Star Wars. I talk about it all the time. You can listen to my podcast, Star Wars Lunch Special, wherever you get podcasts. It is all the latest Star Wars rants and raves in 30 minutes or less, brought to you once a week by me.
And you can also...
That's enough from you, Josh. All right. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again on the next episode of Judge Nerdy. All right. What was going on there?